What is the dumbest thing you got punished for in school? Watching 3 kids play tag on the playground. It's against the rules. Teacher thought I was with them. I had to spend recess sitting on a log. Running a M lab. I wasn't. I had a bunch of chemicals for a photography class that I was student teaching in my locker during my senior year. Someone saw them, called 911. I was pulled out of class by police and arrested. They genuinely thought that I was cooking M in my locker. Wouldn't let me call my lab supervisor to confirm that they were for class. When the narcotics team showed up, they basically just facepalmed and told the cops to let me go. I like to imagine you were like 6 at the time. A teacher in my school said that Orlando was the state capital of Florida. I corrected him. He raised an eyebrow and said, "I think you'll find I'm right," before continuing. I said, "No, sir, it's definitely Tallahassee." His retort of, "I'm the one with the degree in geography" was met with "then you'd think you'd know" landed me in detention. When I was 12, I became ill and had to take time off school. I was off for 3 months straight before going back on a part-time timetable. The slightest bit of exercise would leave me exhausted. I lost weight from not being able to eat, and I looked terrible. So why did I get into trouble? For not taking part in cross-country running. I wasn't alone that day. The girl with a broken leg also got into trouble. My hair gets highlights in it if I spend a lot of time in the sun. I came back to school after a 2-week beach holiday and got detention because I had colored my hair, even though the sun had bleached it. My lips go purple if it's cold, even if I'm not particularly cold in myself. I got a few detentions for wearing makeup before my mum phoned up and complained. The school provided bus being late. When the teacher who handed out the detentions was confronted by a large number of parents' complaints, she responded with, "Not my problem." My school would make an announcement when they knew a bus would be late. Principal would come over the PA and say something like, "Bus 72 and 16 are late this morning. Please excuse any tardy students." You would think other schools would do it too. Got suspended for responding to the prompt, "What one item would you bring with you if you were a pioneer on the Oregon Trail with a rifle and bullets?" I was in the 3rd grade. Dad took me squirrel hunting on the day I was suspended. Turned out better than expected. That's not only stupid to punish you, but is probably one of the best things to take. In high school, the year I got there was the year they instituted a rule that you had to display your id at all times while at school. If you didn't have your id out, you could get detention. Due to reasons, I got to school about an hour before first bell and had zero way of getting back home or getting anything from home. Well, until the end of school, of course. So I get to school and realize, oh noes, I forgot my id at home. Well, no problem. I'll just go to the office and get a temp one. Welp. Turns out I should have tried to make it through the day without my id, because I got detention anyway, and I knew that I had a greater than 95% chance of making it through the day without anyone who cared noticing I didn't have my id out. But no, I tried to do the right thing. Well, frick you school, you taught me a terrible lesson. I went to an extremely conservative Baptist high school in Guam. I was punished for some pretty insane things. Hair being too spiky, singing Feliz Navidad during Christmas time, too worldly of a song, and getting caught with DVDs of mainstream movies. I was eventually expelled when a group of the super religious students sold me out for drinking a beer at a friend's birthday party on a weekend. At this time the drinking age in Guam was 18. I was 18 when drinking said beer. 4th grade history. Talking about the pioneers moving into the American West in the 1800s. The assignment was to come up with a list of things you would pack in your wagon if you were moving 1,000 miles into the wilderness. All of the kids in the class had the usual stuff: food, clothes, medicine, a tent, blankets, etc. A few of us, including myself, had toilet paper on the list because why wouldn't we have it on the list? Toilet paper is a perfectly reasonable thing to pack, right? Anyway, toilet paper offended our teacher's Puritan sensibilities and everybody who listed it went to the principal's office and got suspended from recess for a few days. In 3rd grade my mom had me do some experimental ADD medication thing that caused a bunch of weird tics and crap. Apparently I kept making some face, because my teacher drew 3 stars on a post-it note, and whenever I made the face, She crossed off a star. I lost all 3 and got 3 days in detention for recess. Plot twist, I didn't actually have ADD. Downloading and printing the entire script to Interview with the Vampire. It took almost 10 days to print. This happened in 1995. They couldn't figure out how to stop it. I was suspended for a week. Working in IT. This is the only one that had me laugh out loud. I once coughed in an exam and the invigilator thought I said pedo when I did it. Fast forward 6 months and before mentioned teacher gets asked to leave and it emerges he had been getting way too friendly with young students. Funny thing is that I genuinely just coughed. Methinks he may have had a guilty conscience. Well, that's a little Freudian of him. I got detention for saying okay to my home economics teacher in middle school. Seriously, we were in class and she asked me to do something and I replied, politely, okay. The teacher has a detention board and a day later I see my first name on it. I have a very common name and, joking with her, went haha that's for me right? She said it was. I asked her what I did and she said it was because I replied okay to her when she asked me to do something and she hates when people do that. She just wants them to do it. I was stunned. I told her I wasn't going to detention. I got home and told my mom what happened. My teacher's son was in the same grade as my older sister so my mom knew the teacher. She ended up calling her and the teacher apparently was fumbling over her words trying to justify the detention. The next day, she goes to me you served this detention right, as a wink wink nudge nudge type of thing. I said no and I'm not going to. She goes no you served it right. I decided to just say sure and that was that. You should have said okay. I was flirting with a girl I'd known since we were 4. Special needs kid got angry and punched me in the face. I got suspended for fighting. I forgot my swimming costume for PE, gym, and got a detention, even though our lesson didn't include swimming. I got an in-school suspension for not attending an optional assembly. Not only that, but because I was suspended, I got kicked out of the National Honors Society. I had my teacher's signed permission to stay in his room. We had a new principal who was trying to establish dominance. I've never hurt anyone, but I really wanted to punch his smug face. I really love music and thought that joining my elementary school's band was the coolest thing ever. However, I come from a low-income family, so my parents couldn't afford the $500 entry-level instrument, clarinet, for those wondering. Fortunately, my elementary school offers rentals to students who wish to learn how to play. The only thing we had to pay for was reeds. Awesome, right? Wrong. I was 9 years old and had never handled a clarinet in my life until that point, so I didn't know what a working clarinet sounds or looks like. The music teacher gave it to me and I was just happy to have an instrument of my own. So without suspecting anything, I went home to practice and had a ton of trouble blowing air into the thing whenever I had my fingers down to the 4th key. Forget about anything past that. I figured that it was just because I was new so I didn't have the strength of breath to blow hard enough to go past the 4th key. About 2 weeks later, the music teacher stops our practice and makes me play solo because she couldn't hear me. Of course, it's a piece that required me to go past the 4th key and I just couldn't do it. I told her that I didn't have the breath to blow hard enough so she demands to see my clarinet and then proceeds to blow up on me, in front of the whole class, that I had damaged the thing so extensively that it's unplayable, that I had even had the nerve to try to repair it with hot glue where there were cracks along the barrel. I got sent to the principal's office and my parents were called. She proceeds to tell my parents and the principal that I must have used the clarinet like a sword, because there's no way the instrument could have sustained that much damage staying in its case. I was indignant and I cried and I said that I didn't do anything to it, but no one listened to me. And mind you, I was a straight A student. I wouldn't dare to do anything to it. So frick you, Mrs. Jones, you were supposed to inspect that clarinet before you gave it to me so you knew dang well that it was fricked before you gave it to me. You planned all of that to get my family to pay for something that we couldn't afford because you fricked up at some point and didn't want to pay for it yourself. Frick you. TLDR. Music teacher gave naive 9-year-old a fricked up clarinet to make her responsible for the cost of repairing it. In 5th grade I was not allowed to go on our field trip and had to sit in a room alone reading the entire day, all because I fought back when another kid punched me in the eye. Frick, zero tolerance policies. Little did they know, I love sitting in rooms alone reading. In school, suspension was my favorite thing. I got to do my schoolwork at my speed, which was much faster than the teacher's speed, and then read my book with peace and quiet. I got morning detention for running my hand against the brick wall in middle school. I was talking to my girlfriend and wasn't paying attention and just dragging my hand along the wall as I walked down. Supposedly the teacher thought I was banging on the walls. Got suspended for throwing paper airplanes in elementary school. Also, my little brother's friend is in elementary school and he got in trouble for sexual harassments for saying this roses are red, violets are blue, no girl on earth is prettier than you. Misogynist pig. For me, it was whole class detentions. I was always the quiet kid who would get on with work and was rarely disruptive in class. Most of the teachers were well aware of this. But sometimes, I would end up in detention because some people were misbehaving and the teacher simply held the entire class back, including the well-behaved ones. It happened quite a few times and I really hated it. The justification was that the good kids would pressure the bad kids. Somehow, how teachers thought a shy, quiet kid like me could pressure the class dickheads to keep quiet, I really don't know. I got jumped, unprovoked, by a spiteful girl. I didn't initiate the fight or anything, but I still got suspended for 5 days. Stupid school rules. No tolerance policies, or whatever they're called, are stupid. If someone hits you, you're going to get punished anyway, so you may as well just hit back. First year of high school, only been at the school for about 7 or 8 weeks and I got sent to the focus room, what we call detention pretty much, for wearing black socks instead of blue or white. I went to a public high school and it was the principal that saw me and she had to literally get on her hands and knees to check the color. I was once stabbed in elementary school and I got a detention for instigating it. Apparently don't stab me is classified as instigation. Nothing. My 4th grade teacher was deliberately giving me lower grades for no real apparent reason. My dad actually took a night to calculate the grades I was making with all the homeworks and tests and things I had, and said I was actually making A's and B's. I found out my cousin was considering suicide, so I acquired access to the faculty chat program and contacted my counselor because my teacher would not let me leave. I was able to get the situation resolved, but was suspended because I accessed programs I weren't allowed to. I would have just walked out of class. Frick that teacher not letting you leave. I actually have a great story on this one. In 4th grade, or something, I had this old bee of a teacher we all really hated. Let's call her Catherine, her actual name. So I was hanging out in the schoolyard when some 1st graders came running towards me and kicked me in the nuts, with absolutely no reason whatsoever. So I started crying and screaming from the unbearable pain I was in. Catherine comes running and starts screaming at me for making a scene. She starts screaming at a little kid who just got his nuts kicked far up his stomach. So I scream right back at her, and she asks me if I wanted to move this whole discussion to the principal's office, knowing I was being treated extremely wrong. My answer is of course yes. Catherine ended up getting yelled at by the principal for 20 minutes or so, and I got to go home 3 hours before school ended. Best day ever. Man, I hate this crap. When I was 10 I hyperextended my knee in the yard just outside the principal's office. She went crazy at me for causing a scene when I was screaming and writhing in pain. I caught her eye quite a few times in the next couple weeks as I made my way around on my crutches. A buddy of mine once had 10% of his grade lowered on a report because when he stapled them together, he did it horizontally instead of at a 45-degree angle. I thought that was ridiculous but couldn't help laughing. My French teacher did not like me for some reason I could never guess. Anyway, one day during her exam she came to my desk and accused me of cheating when I wasn't doing anything wrong. So, I protested and said I am not cheating. She then proceeded to took away my sheet and asked me questions on test verbally. I replied correctly to all her questions. Now that she knew that she got nothing on me, she wrote -5 on my sheet because of me daring to protest. At some point these power tripping teachers need to just stop. When every kid in class is watching her be a dumbass, she's losing more respect than she's gaining by being a C. In elementary school, a friend and I were written up for having a food fight. We were sliding an apple slice across the table to each other. The lunch monitor after school supervisor helicopter parent flipped crap and started screaming at us and dragged us to the principal. Once I got home my dad whooped me and it peed me off pretty good. I mean I did a lot of dumb crap in elementary school that warranted whoopings, but this one was just dumb. In 2nd grade, 1993, I dressed up as Aladdin for Halloween. My grandmother worked hard to make the costume as authentic as possible, down to the little patch on the leg. Everyone complimented me on the costume and I was riding high. Then I heard sobbing. Some little crap named John, a crybaby and overall crap student, also dressed as Aladdin, but his costume was garbage. No fez, just an off-color purple vest and some tan sweatpants. He was weeping uncontrollably because my costume was better. He ran and hid in the coat room. My teacher flipped her crap on me and made me apologize to him. I didn't do anything wrong. I just had a better costume. I reluctantly apologized to the little crap, shook his hand, and was forced to remove my costume and let him wear his. Frick that kid. This is just the opposite way of dealing with a problem. The kid now thinks that if he cries hard and loud enough, he will get what he wants. When I was in 4th grade, I was given detention for reading books too quickly. The teacher had divided the books by difficulty, and she thought I was stupid so she put me at the lowest reading level. Even though I was one of the smartest students in the class, I finished all of the books within the course of about 2 weeks. When I told her that I was finished with them and would like to start reading the more difficult books, she called me a liar and gave me a week's worth of detention, claiming there was no way that I could have read and understood those books so fast. I saw her a few years ago and she was surprised that I'm on the dean's list at my college, let alone at the college I'm attending. I'm graduating from college next year with the intention on going to medical school. I think I can freaking read. I got told off for doing well in practice exams. Apparently had the teacher known I was reasonably intelligent and lazy rather than stupid they could have helped me more. Even at 15 I didn't really think that was the way teaching was supposed to work. Got punished for being punished. Teacher kicked me out because I was a minute late, honestly. So I was chilling outside the class when the principal walks by and gives me an earful about delinquency and indiscipline. Real douchebag. Had a stick up his butt at the time and threatened to call my parents. Start spouting bulls on the phone, so I interrupted and told him that he cannot speak to my parents in such a way, especially when he is not speaking the truth. Gets frustrated and suspends me for 2 days. I have no idea what was wrong with him, but I enjoyed those 2 days. Aged 10, year 5 in England. About 100 of us are sat in the main hall having a music lesson. So she's trying to teach everyone to sing in rounds. I think that's what it's called, where you overlap lines with previous line etc. Anyway, we're doing a part that requires a few of us to sing in harmony, and much like J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, she notices someone is singing flat. She eventually whittles it down to me and in front of everyone she says, "No, it's like this. In C, me, teacher, no, me, teacher, right, well if you're going to waste my time, I will waste yours." I spent my lunch break standing outside the staff room staring at the floor. I cannot sing. End of. I hate singing now, and I largely blame this on that stupid teacher that couldn't tell the difference between a kid being an and one with no talent. Thanks Mrs. Hammond. I remember having a really crappy 4th grade teacher who sent me to the principal's office because I told her I didn't understand what the math question was asking. She asked me what part I didn't understand. I said all of it. She said I was lying and then punished me for it. On the bright side, the principal said I did nothing wrong and just let me hang out with her for the rest of the day. In grade 3, I said crap out loud when a friend pushed me and I scrapped my knee. Some random kid nearby heard and reported me, to which I got a 1-day suspension. Butthole. I went to a parochial school and the teacher gave demerits to 2 kids for having their eyes open during prayer. Think about it. So it's the last day of middle school. We're all headed down to the auditorium for the end of year award and whatever ceremony. Before we were leaving class to go, our teacher tells us we have to sit boy girl when we get down there. Now you can imagine our disappointment when we have all of our friends in there and we are told we can't sit next to them on the last day of school. Anyway, after the initial moans and groans, I asked her right before we left why we had to sit that way. Apparently it was the tipping point because she flipped out on me and told me to go sit in the principal's office during the ceremony. So I went down and sat in the office during the ceremony. The best part about this was that my dad was a teacher at the same school. He was in the ceremony and little did anyone know I was receiving the biggest award for perfect attendance throughout the whole 3 years of middle school. After they called my name several times, my teacher had to stand up and tell the whole school that I was in the office and wasn't there. Needless to say, my dad was pretty pissed when he saw me after school. I explained to him I didn't really do anything and he seemed to be more pissed at the other teacher after I explained she was being a B after all. That's kinda hilarious. The kid who was awarded best attendance wasn't there. I am from Germany and in 9th grade I had to do a presentation on the Waffen-SS. I did a lot of research because I was interested in history. My teacher, who didn't even study history, stopped my presentation when I started to talk about foreign volunteers in the SS. She said that this is a Nazi lie and that she was shocked that I believed that anyone who wasn't blonde and blue-eyed could go to the Waffen-SS. I honestly couldn't believe that she was angry because I simply mentioned this fact. I argued with her and got in trouble for questionable political views. After that I had to go to a Jewish museum and think about what I did and write an essay on Jews in Nazi Germany. When I asked other teachers about this topic, they hesitated to answer me and just didn't give me a reply. Really weird. In the 11th grade I had a similar case. I got a bad grade for describing how World War II broke out with all the details. The comment was unbelievable. Wrong. World War II broke out because Germany thought Jews are subhumans. The day I left this school was the best day of my life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.